What if? What if a memory you hold as absolutely true, something vivid, maybe even shared by thousands, just never occurred? And what if that shared feeling, that illusion, challenges everything you think you know about reality itself? Today we're doing a deep dive into this strange phenomenon. It's known as the Mandela effect. We'll explore what it is, look into the fascinating science behind why our memories can be so unreliable, and then we'll consider some of the more, well, extraordinary, maybe unsettling theories it brings up. Our mission to try and uncover what's really going on with these shared illusions. Are they just glitches in our minds, or could they possibly be ripples in reality? Okay, let's unpack this phenomenon. It's quite unsettling when you first encounter it. The Mandela effect. That term was coined by a researcher, Fiona Broome, back in 2009. It basically describes these situations where, large groups of people somehow share the exact same false memory. The classic example, one it's named after, is the widespread belief that Nelson Mandela died in prison back in the 1980s. But of course, he didn't. He passed away in 2013, peacefully, long after his release. And there are other examples, right? Things that feel really familiar, like the Monopoly Man. Many people picture him with a monocle.
Right. He definitely looks like he should have one.
But he doesn't, never has.
Hmm.
Or that famous movie line, everyone seems to think Darth Vader says, "Luke, I am your father."
But the actual line is just, "No, I am your father." The Luke isn't there.
Exactly. And then there's that whole thing about a Sinbad genie movie from the 90s. Shazam.
Ah, yes, Shazam.
Yeah.
So many people seem to remember it vividly. Posters, scenes,
It never existed. There's no record of it.
never at all.
These things, these shared mistakes,
Yeah.
they really do make you question your own memory. And maybe even, well, reality.
And what's fascinating from a scientific view is how this ties into how memory actually works. Or doesn't work perfectly.
Yeah.
See, our memory isn't like a video camera, just recording things accurately. It's much more like a storyteller. It reconstructs events, sometimes filling in gaps. Psychologists like Elizabeth Loftus, she's done a huge amount of research on this. False memories, you might know her Lost in the Mall experiment.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one. Where they convinced people they remembered getting lost as kids?
Exactly. And about, what was it, 25% of the participants came to confidently remember this completely fictional event. Then there's something called fuzzy trace theory from researchers like Valerie Reyna and Charles Brainerd. It suggests memory stores the overall, meaning the gist, separately from the specific details.
Okay.
And those details, they fade pretty quickly. So the brain kind of patches things up, fills in specifics that feel right but might be wrong. And someone like Henry Odgar points out that even just, everyday stress or our brain's own shortcuts, cognitive biases can cause confabulation.
Confabulation. That's like honest but false memories.
Precisely. You genuinely believe it happened, but it didn't. So
Yeah.
the big takeaway is that memory, even when you feel absolutely certain, it can be surprisingly unreliable.
So if our own minds are already doing this, kind of bending memories, what happens when you throw the internet into the mix? This is where it seems to get, well, really interesting, maybe even amplified.
That's a good point. The digital age definitely seems to play a role.
It's like the internet acts as this huge catalyst, doesn't it? You get suggestion, repetition.
Social validation, too. If thousands of people online seem to remember the same thing you do.
It reinforces your own possibly wrong memory.
Mm-hmm.
There was that study in 2022, University of Chicago, I think. They found these visual Mandela effects. Things like people consistently drawing Pikachu with a black tip on his tail,
Get to the now.
or remembering a cornucopia, that horn shape in the Fruit of the Loom logo.
Also not there. Never was.
And this connects to something called memory conformity, right? How being in a group can actually change what individuals remember.
Yes, exactly. It shows how easily collective memory can influence personal recall. It even happens with eyewitnesses. Sometimes groups collectively misremember quite traumatic events, which naturally leads to the more unusual questions. If it's not just our individual minds or even group dynamics, what else could possibly explain these shared specific false memories?
You mean the more out there theories?
Some people certainly propose more sensational ideas, things like alternate realities, parallel universes. The idea being maybe these shared memories are glimpses or slips between different timelines.
Slipping between realities.
Or perhaps it relates to something like quantum consciousness, the idea that reality itself isn't fixed, that it can shift,
Yeah.
and our collective memory shifts with it.
That's a pretty big concept.
It is. And it's worth noting, Fiona Broome, the person who coined the term Mandela effect, she herself has suggested these kinds of possibilities. She feels the standard psychological explanations might be too simplistic for how deeply shared these experiences feel to people.
So we're left with this core mystery. Our memories feel so solid, so real, yet they can be collectively wrong. What does that actually mean for us, for how we see the world?
Well, the consensus among psychologists, people like Loftus and Reyna, strongly points back to the workings of the mind. Loftus constantly emphasizes confidence in a memory doesn't equal accuracy. That's crucial, especially for things like eyewitness testimony.
Right. Just because you're sure doesn't make it true.
Exactly. And Reyna highlights how our brain reconstructs based on gist, leading to memories that feel familiar, but often subtly or even significantly false. The Chicago researchers looking at those visual examples. They also conclude it mostly stems from pattern recognition, memory shortcuts, how our brains process visual information efficiently, but not always perfectly.
But Fiona Broom, as you said, she keeps an open mind. And a lot of people who are drawn to ideas like the multiverse find the Mandela effect very compelling.
Yes, while psychology offers plausible mechanisms rooted in known cognitive processes, the allure of a deeper, perhaps cosmic mystery is undeniable for many. It speaks to something unsettling about reality.
Ultimately, the Mandela effect serves as this powerful reminder, doesn't it? That memory isn't like a perfect recording playing back. It's more like Lacero, like a mosaic. It fills in the gaps. It echoes stories we've heard. It weaves our beliefs into what we recall.
Yeah.
But when so many people share the exact same incorrect detail, the same illusion, is that just, mass cognitive drift, a weird quirk of psychology in the internet age? Or could we actually be glimpsing something else? Tiny cracks in the fabric of reality itself. Either way you look at it, the fact that what we remember might not be what truly happened, that can be, for many of us, the most unsettling thought of all.